It's the great debate. What do you do with starting pitching? Do you take them early in the draft, or do you wait on starting pitching and take them later in the draft? Let's talk about the top 24. Hey, Headliner Nation, what is going on? Welcome back to the Fantasy Headliners, and I can't tell you how excited I am to be pumping out as much content as we are right now. Lots of fantasy baseball stuff, lots of fantasy football stuff, even some draft stuff, rookie stuff, I mean everything. We're just full tilt right now at the Fantasy Headliners, and thank you for taking a moment to check out this video. We're talking about the top 24 starting pitchers this year according to my ranks, so we are going to jump into those. We'll move through them a little bit quickly. If you are a subscriber, you know how we like to do our shows here. Short, sweet, to the point, a little bit of fun, a little bit of something else, and we get right to what we want to talk about. So we're going to jump into the top 24 starting pitchers here. If you are not a subscriber to the Fantasy Headliners, then please hit that subscribe button. I promise you that you will not regret it. Let's start jumping into these pitchers right now, and we're going to start at number 24, and I've got the San Francisco Giants, Madison Bumgarner, coming in at 24 this year. Okay, it has nothing to do with the fact that maybe Madison Bumgarner really burned me in a few leagues last year because I took him as my ace, and it just didn't work out. But Madison Bumgarner, I mean, he has a great track record. He's always been a solid starting pitcher. He's always been a good starting pitcher. But we are now on back-to-back years where in 2017, only 111 innings. 2018, only 129 innings. So the ERA was pretty good both years. But what are you going to get from Madison Bumgarner this year? I am a little bit worried about some of those issues. Are innings starting to catch up to him a little bit? Is he going to continue to have issues with that? The reason I'm putting him down here at 24 is because I still expect good numbers while he's in the lineup, and I want to respect that. But I also don't want to put him too far up because I don't want him to be a guy that we draft super early if we have any fears about injury concerns. So if you can get Madison Bumgarner, I mean, heck, if you can get him as a starting pitcher 2 or even 3, I would much rather have him as my starting pitcher 3 on my team. But if, depending on how the dominoes fall, if you get him as your starting pitcher 2, I don't hate that either. Just have a good insurance plan backing him up. Number 23 is going to be Robbie Ray out of Arizona. Love Robbie Ray. Broke out a couple years ago. A 2.89 ERA in 162 innings. Just a fantastic season that year for Robbie Ray. And I was really hoping that he would carry it over to 2018. And it didn't quite happen. Again, some issues with innings, only 123 innings. He's a guy that can be really wild at some points. He can be all over the mark, and that can be an issue. That can be an issue for owners, especially if you're drafting him to be a top-of-the-line starter. But again, another guy that I'm looking at is Robbie Ray. I'd probably rather have him as my starting pitcher 3 just because he doesn't have the track record as Madison Bumgarner. So I'd like Robbie Ray a little bit behind that. I do think he bounces back. Only going to be 27 this year, so he's still right there getting into his prime. We just need to see him take that next step. Can he get closer to 200 innings? Can he bring that ERA back down from 3.93 back to that 3 area, and can those strikeouts start to go back up? 218 strikeouts in 162 innings in 2017, 165 and 123 innings last year. So a lot of good things with Robbie Ray. That strikeout per 9 innings, 12-1, 12-0 the last 2 years. The walks, though, like I said, is what killed him. 3.9 2 years ago, 5.1 last year. Coming up next for the Minnesota Twins, we've got Jose Barrios, and this is a kid that he's had top-of-the-line starter written all over him, even back when he was in the minor leagues. I think he still has that potential. I think he can still be a frontline starter. For fantasy purposes, he's not quite a top-tier pitcher for me yet. We'll see what happens this season. Has taken 2 steps forward the last couple of years, some baby steps, but still steps nonetheless. Going from 145 innings in 2017 to 192 last year, showing that he can become one of those workhorse front of the line starters. 202 strikeouts in 192 innings last year. So those K per 9 inning, or that K per 9 inning, up to 9.5, the highest of his career. Lowered his walks per 9 inning just a little bit from 3 to 2.9. So hopefully he continues that. And those hits per 9 inning also came down a little bit too, from 8.1 to 7.4. So he's taking those steps. Now the question is this year, does he take the big step? Or is it just another baby step? Whatever it is, I think this is a solid ranking for Jose Barres. I do think he is a guy that you can trust. And that Minnesota team is going to be a lot better this year than it was last year. So I am looking forward to watching them play, even though they're in the same division as my Tigers, and my Tigers probably won't be that good this year. Moving on, number 21, I have Jameson Taillon from the Pittsburgh Pirates. I really like Taillon. I mean, I think he is also one of those guys that has tremendous upside. But again, how many steps forward does he take? He goes last season, he ends up putting together 191 innings, a 3.25 ERA. I definitely think that he is a guy... 191 innings, a 3.20 ERA, in 191 innings. And then he strikes out 179 pitchers as well. There are 179 hitters he strikes out as well. So, I mean, again, his walks were right in line. He had just as many walks in 17 and 18, but he pitched in far less innings in 2017. So, I mean, again, what kind of a step are we seeing from Taillon? Is it going to be another baby step like Barrios? Is it going to be a huge step forward? I think these are guys that if you take them, if you wait on starting pitching and you play in a rotisserie league, then these are really good guys because I think they're high upside guys. They have a little bit of a variability to them, but they're high upside, so you can withstand that a little bit more if you are playing in a roto league. Again, head to head, I like to be a little bit safer with those matchups. Taillon, another guy that I'm taking a look at. Patrick Corbin, out in Washington now. Doesn't have to be the ace. That's still Max Scherzer. But, he had the breakout year last year. 3.15 ERA and 200 innings. I mean, the kid really showed up last year at 28 years old. He's had some injury issues in the past, but the last 2 seasons, he's starting to climb back up. I don't think he's exactly what we saw last year. I think he is a little bit less than that. I think he's closer to his 2013 season than he is his 2018 season. Both of them really good seasons. I just think he's a little bit closer to that one than what we saw last year. We'll see with the move out to the National League East how that works for him, though. I don't think he's exactly what we saw last year, so I don't think we're drafting him for those numbers. Take a look at 2013, his second year in the season, and I think we're looking a little bit closer to that. After Patrick Corbin, we got Chris Archer, another guy that I just can't quit. I really like Chris Archer. I know he hasn't been the best the last couple of seasons, but he's in a new environment now. I think that really helps. I mean, he's been outspoken about how difficult it can be to play in Tampa Bay. Now he gets to go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, I don't want to say a better fan base, but they definitely will have better turnouts. And I think this is really going to be a help for him moving from the American League East out to the National League Central. Still a tough division, but those are obviously 2 different divisions, so I like him to bounce back this season. Carlos Martinez, one of my favorite pitchers. One of the big things I talked about last year with him, in 2017, we saw him take a pretty big step back. He did eclipse 205 innings, which was great to see from him. He did get to 217 strikeouts, his first over, but there was an issue with home runs. Home runs were the big issue. He was allowing 1.2 home runs per 9 innings. That was a huge issue, giving up some hard hits. But he controlled that and brought that back down in 2018 and really rebounded, going to a 3.11 ERA in 118 innings. But again, injury issues is what plagued him. There's a few guys in this top 24 that I have ranked pretty high that have injury issues that we should be concerned about and that we need to keep those in mind. But typically when I'm doing my rankings, I try to set some of those things out of the way unless they are like coming off an injury and they might miss the beginning of the season or something like that, because I really want to focus on what they can do when healthy when ranking them, because injuries while some people are considered injury prone, others, they're just fluky injuries that happen, and it can change at any time. Zach Greinke coming in at 17. Next guy I want to talk about, we're going to skip over Greinke a little bit because the next guy I want to talk about a little bit more in depth is Walker Buehler. What are we thinking about Walker Buehler? He had a really good season in 2018. So can he carry that over? Can he take a step forward again and become really the up-and-coming ace of the Los Angeles Dodgers? Is he the ace in waiting behind Clayton Kershaw? Well, here's the thing. Here's what I need to see from Walker Buehler. I need to see him become a better pitcher on the road. That's why I don't view him as a top-tier starting pitcher in fantasy leagues yet, because he does have a lot more that he has to do. Last year, between home and away, home last year, a 1.93 ERA. On the road last year, 3.5 ERA, 3.45 ERA. So that ERA, obviously, he also gave up more hits on the road. He gave up more runs on the road. He walked more on the road, and he struck out significantly less on the road. 84 strikeouts at home compared to 67 strikeouts on the road. So like I said, I need to see him become a better pitcher away from Los Angeles. If that happens, he's taking a step forward, but I'm not trusting him as my starting pitcher one. And honestly, if I'm partaking in a redraft league, I'm probably skipping over Walker Buehler this year because with the way that I try to tend on waiting on pitching, he's not a safe bet that I would like to have. I play in a lot of head-to-head leagues. Head-to-head, again, I like to be a little bit safer, a little bit more conservative with my picks. In a roto league, then I tend to look for some more high upside guys because it really evens out over the course of a year. So Walker Buehler, can he take that step forward and become a better pitcher on the road in 2019? At 15, I have Steven Strasburg. Steven Strasburg continues to be one of the more overrated pitchers in fantasy baseball. People tend to try and jump and grab him every single year. Finally had that really good, crisp season in 2017. But then right back to a high 3 ERA in 2018. Only 130 innings. He's only eclipsed 200 innings one time. He's the guy we always draft as our ace, to be our ace with high upside, and it just never happens. Steven Strasburg is typically not a guy that I trust in any given year, but because that high upside, I do have him a little bit further up in my rankings, but he's one that I tend to move back and forth a little bit, so we'll see what happens in spring training. James Paxton coming in at 14 for me. Love James Paxton. He is an ace. He has everything that he needs to be an ace. He just needs to stay healthy. That's it. If he stays healthy, he's actually a guy that I would trust. I would draft him as my starting pitcher one if I knew that he would be healthy all season long. Again, a lot of concerns about health in this top 24. James Paxton is another one, but he has all the numbers to back up being a fantasy ace for you. Carlos Carrasco, this is a guy that if I could get him as my starting pitcher too, I would be ecstatic because he's so underrated. Carlos Carrasco doesn't get nearly enough love as being a very good pitcher and being a really good fantasy asset. He hasn't had an ERA over 3.63. He had 3.63 ERA in 2015. He hasn't been over that since 2013, though. 18 wins 2 seasons ago, 17 last season, 200 innings, 192 innings. He is a guy that struggles with some nagging injuries every once in a while, stuff that pops up that you have to keep an eye on. But he's just so consistent. He's very consistent. 3 of the last 4 years, strikeouts per 9 innings over 10. The last 5 seasons actually, right around 2 walks per 9 innings, 1.9, 2.1, 2.1, 2.1, 2.0. Again, consistency is the thing with Carlos Carrasco. So in a head-to-head league, I love having Carlos Carrasco because he's so consistent. Noah Syndergaard coming in after that at 12. Again, high upside. Can the guy stay healthy? Short in 2017, only 154 innings in 2018. Can he eclipse 200 innings total? And if the Mets aren't playing well, are there more trade rumors swirling about Noah Syndergaard, and where does he end up? So a lot of things to take a look at there, but we know the upside that he has. At 11, I have Trevor Bauer, the breakout candidate from last season, putting together that fabulous Cy Young type season last year, finishing 6th in the Cy Young voting. Didn't get nearly enough love, I think, because he only went 12-6, and I know we shouldn't talk about wins too much, but that happens from time to time in those votings. 221 strikeouts. So he eclipsed 200 strikeouts for the first time, which was really good. He's always had that ability. His strikeouts per 9 innings, the highest he's ever seen, 10 in 17, 11.3 in 2018. Those walks per 9 innings, he finally gets them under 3 for the first time. And then home run per 9 innings, 0.5 home run per 9 innings led the league last year. So I expect Trevor Bauer to have another good season for the Cleveland Indians. Blake Snell can't say enough good things about Blake Snell. The only thing you got to be concerned about is what happens with the team that he's on. Obviously, he doesn't play for a great team in the Tampa Bay Rays. Wins the Cy Young last year, so I think he's going to be a guy that's a little bit overdrafted. Strikeouts, though. So if you play in a league that really takes strikeouts into consideration, which all of them are going to, but if you're looking specifically to build a lineup or a rotation around strikeouts, Blake Snell is your guy. Luis Severino, the ace for the Yankees. I call him the ace for the Yankees. I love Luis Severino. He's a guy that I've owned in a couple of fantasy leagues for a really long time. So I did trade him in one of those leagues, though, and one of those trades that I will always regret. We always have those trades, but that's okay. Luis Severino, back-to-back fabulous seasons, 2.98 ERA in 17, a 3.39 ERA in 2018, just over 190 innings both seasons, 230 strikeouts, 220 strikeouts. Cy Young finished third in the Cy Young voting 2 years ago, ninth this past season. I mean, again, the kid's just fantastic. His walks per 9 innings, 2.4, 2.2. And believe it or not, he's trying to limit and doing a good job of limiting those home runs, even though he's playing in a stadium which can be prone to giving up a lot of them in New York. But another guy, Luis Severino, is a guy that I will target as my first starting pitcher off the board if I wait. So I'm hoping that maybe if I take, if I have like a high pick in the first round, and I take a hitter in the first, hitter in the second, I can get Luis Severino in the third, take him as my ace, go back to hitting, and then wait on some more starting pitching, and then try to find value in starting pitching later on. Clayton Kershaw after that, coming in at 8. I mean, what can you say? It's been a rough tumble for the guy, especially considering the injury issues that he's really had to deal with. When he's on the mound, though, he's fantastic. I mean, he still has it. He's only 31 years old. I mean, the guy still has all the tools, all the pitches to be an extremely effective major league pitcher. Will all of the innings start to catch up to him, though? Is that what we are starting to see? Or is he going to bounce back? I mean, we saw the same thing about Justin Verlander, who we'll talk about in a minute, where he had some seasons where we thought, oh no, here's Father Time, start to move on from him, and all of a sudden he bounces back and has this great year. Is that going to be Clayton Kershaw? So we'll see if he bounces back and has that year this year. But I think he's coming at a discount because you can get him kind of in that 30 range for ADP. So definitely keep an eye on him. Jacob DeGrom, last year's Cy Young winner in the National League. I mean, Jacob DeGrom, I think, is going to take a step back. I think he's going to take a step back. Some of his numbers were right in line with career averages. And I think that's why we see him take a little bit of a step back, because I think he overperformed some last year. Fantastic pitcher. I love him. I don't want him to be my starting pitcher one, though, just because I think there is a little bit of a variability where he has an ERA that goes back up a little bit closer to 3 instead of being the 1.70 that we saw last year, which led the league. I think he's going to take a little bit of a step back. I think we see that ERA go back up a tad, but I think we get a little bit closer to that mid-2 to high-2 range. Aaron Nola, breakout season last year. Aaron Nola is a guy you can trust. Don't worry about him. Don't think last season was a fluke. The big thing that Aaron Nola did last year is he worked on keeping the ball on the ground and striking out more hitters, and doing both of those things really allowed him to take that next step forward. Aaron Nola is the real deal. He is a guy that's going to give you 200 innings. He's a guy that's going to give you 200 strikeouts. He's a guy that's going to give you an ERA that's going to be in that in that mid to high 2 range. I do think it might come up a little bit from the 2.37 that we saw last season. But Philadelphia is ready to roll. They've gone all in. They have the rotation. They have the bullpen. They have the lineup. This is a team ready to win the NL East. Coming in next, Garrett Cole and Justin Verlander, back-to-back seasons, really great seasons last year. Justin Verlander, again, we talked about him a couple of minutes ago, came out of nowhere to really establish career highs in a couple of different categories, including strikeouts last season, which, I mean, he has such a decorated career. It's hard to imagine that in his age 35 season, all of a sudden he's putting together a career a year. But he did. I expect that trend to continue. The guy's a timeless wonder. Basically, Justin Verlander is kind of the, what do we call him? I think I mentioned someone else as being Yadier Molina in the catching video. I said was Frank Gore. Justin Verlander is kind of like the NFL's Frank Gore, except the fact that he's continuing to perform at a high volume. Corey Kluber, Chris Sale, Max Scherzer are going to round out my top three. You don't get any better than those three. You're going to have to spend an early pick, probably a second-round pick on them, depending on your settings. Maybe a late first, but I wouldn't do that. So that's probably what you'll have to spend to get any of these three guys. Corey Kluber, just keep in mind that there's always a possibility. There's been some rumors about being traded. That could happen if for some reason the Indians don't play that well. But my early season prediction or my preseason prediction for AL MVP is Jose Ramirez. So hopefully they don't play too bad, because I think Ramirez is going to win the MVP. Again, have to talk good about these teams around my Tigers, because my Tigers aren't going to be that great this season. Just over that 20-minute mark, so I got to get out of here. Hopefully you got enough information from this video. If not, comment below. We're one of the most interactive sports channels on YouTube. We will get back to you if you have questions. If there's a guy that you didn't see in here that you want to see, if there's someone that was too high, too low, let us know below, and we will definitely be responding to you. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at krich1532. Again, thanks so much for checking out the starting pitchers ranks and analysis video. Make sure you catch all the rest of them, all of our great fantasy baseball and football content. We'll see you on the next show. Thanks so much, everyone.